Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the it is?
Aries and Andy, Chew and the Jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut, cold. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Subscribe, we lit.
There's levels to this shit. Before you was on your mama.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism,
Sexism,
much love to my loyal bag holders,
rollers, loaders.
we got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Folks, between this episode of the pod and then next week, a lot of meat on the bone in terms of, it's a juicy meat because I love what we're talking about. And before we get to the meat and potatoes, of course, there's a couple appetizers I want to talk about. But the main thing we're talking about is this wonderful, magnificent 4-part episode documentary called STAX, Soulsville, USA, on HBO Max. And then next week, and I told Andy, actually, when I first brought this to Andy's attention, I thought it was just 2 episodes. And then when I looked, I saw, oh, it's 3. And then Andy further investigated. He goes, no, it's 4. So there's 4 episodes of this thing called STAX. But then when I was downloading it from HBO Max, I saw this 2-part episode, two episode documentary about Kevin Spacey called Unmasked. So I watched that on the plane on the way here to Richmond. And I told Andy, man, you got to see this thing. So between that and then I saw an ad on Instagram, Hulu has got a documentary called The Brat Pack about, the Brat Pack in the 80s. So this thing is like quintessential 80s. What was Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, what's my man? I can't think of his name, but he was in New Jack City.
Yeah, I
can't
think of
Demi
any of the names
Moore, Andrew McCarthy. So that's the Brat Pack, which was again quintessential 80s. So between you can't think of anybody's name?
No, and I see all their faces and no names are coming to me.
So between the Kevin Spacey Unmasked and the Brat Pack, which is on Hulu, we're going to talk about those 2 things next week. So giving you guys the jump.
The Brat Pack isn't out yet, though, isn't it? I thought it wasn't coming out to June 4th.
No, I think it is out, no?
I don't know. I thought I saw June 4th. But there's one other thing that you forgot that we said we were going to watch, and we haven't got to it yet.
What's that?
That's the Clippers, the Donald Sterling thing.
Right. Is that out yet?
Yeah, I think that comes out this month.
Okay, so if for whatever reason the Hulu thing isn't out yet and the Clippers thing is, then
we'll switch them around.
Do a little switch.
But we got some stuff coming up that we want to talk about. Not that we're doing because we want to put it out there for you. This is we want to talk about it.
We do want to talk about it, but I always like when we can give them the jump.
Yeah.
That way, if they see it and then they've already seen it and we talk about it, they kind of
But I'm just saying me and you would sit down and talk about this if we weren't doing the podcast.
Yes.
That's what I like about it. That's when I really like these. Not just there's some things that we watch just because we're doing the pod, and there's some things that fit the format.
Yes.
But this fits the format of our lives.
Absolutely. That being said, a couple appetizers before we jump into the meat and potatoes. And I know we talked about it on the pod, and you were so excited when you watched it after I told you, man, you got to check out Mayor of Kingstown. And I fell off from Mayor of Kingstown. And not that I, lost interest. It was one of those things where I went, God damn it, I got to watch season 2. And I just hadn't done it, and I had done it, and I had done it. So finally, dude, all last week, I watched the whole season 2. Yo, you need to get back on that show. That show is fire, man. You know how much you loved the first season?
I loved the first season, but it just seemed like it was going to be a repeat. The second season's a repeat.
No. Jeremy Renner, if you just watched it for him, it's a well worth it watch. But that show, man, is flames. So, I know that I might be, you could almost play the Bruce Willis to me. Welcome to the party, pal. I'm back into the party. I'm sure those of you who watch it, love it, are like, damn, you should have been, because now they're about to come out with season 3.
Yeah.
But man, I'm telling you, I'm so sorry I fell off, but I got back on. Andy, believe me, dude.
I'll check it out. But you're going to end up retiring in Boston, dude.
What do you mean?
I think you're going to move to Boston one day.
Why you say that?
Because you love that. You love that East Coast, but not necessarily. You love New York.
Yes.
But I think you love the Boston people, man. You love that whole
I'm
fucking...
going to never put side over wifey. New York is wifey.
Yeah, but
Boston is side.
You love that atmosphere, man. When we're there, you're just having such a good time with all
Boston's
of it.
a great city.
I know. I'm not denying it. I just see you as spending more time there.
Don't be disrespectful, kid. It's a great city, kid. Just get your moved to New Jersey. Hoboken. It's not even New York. It's not even real Jersey. Jesus Christ. You see, this is what happens. They claim they really ain't theirs, but they take it. It's like you lead with your... Jesus Christ, kid. You're not to die for.
I'm not a Hoboken guy, but it works, man. I actually really... It took a while to get used to living there, because you're right. It's not Jersey and it's not New York, but it's its own village upon itself.
It's like a armpit, kid. It's not a main body part. I mean, it's an important body part when you put the deodorant on. Otherwise, you smell like the... But I'm telling you, kid, you're like an armpit. You're hidden and you're sweaty and you're hairy. It's not a good look, kid. Ah, Jesus. I remember one time I was boking a Hoboken. It's great. Great. Bobby Patterson, by the way. So, yeah, season 2 is great. Then I forwarded you the preview for Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It
looks kind of good.
It does, but we don't know what it's going to be.
We don't.
And it all depends on the writing and how they handle all the characters.
I got to admit, though, man, I went, this trailer doesn't look bad.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think the reason I have high hopes is I really liked... now I'm not going to remember the name of it. What was the movie? We watched it. It was like over 2 years ago, probably.
Who was the
about
star?
Rudy Ray Moore.
Oh, Dolomite.
Yeah, dude. That
you put a lot on that. That didn't blow me away. It was
but it
cool.
was good considering how some of the other things have been. And I saw the glimpse of like Murphy being Murphy again. And he did it through the Dolomite.
I saw Murphy being that character.
I did too.
When you say Murphy again, we talking about Chicago Bulls Eddie Murphy, not Washington Wizards Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy plays great characters. He puts himself into those characters, and I saw that in that Dolomite. And that's why I'm saying I think that it's there. If he wants to do this and he enjoys rebuilding that character as the older Eddie, but still putting that same amount of effort, it's going to be great.
But see, I remember that was one of the main points that I brought up when we talked about this. Is he too old for that character to be that guy? That guy was a 20-year-old, slick, quick, hip, slick mouth. He that fit a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, not a 63-year-old.
If they develop the character so that he gets to be his age that he is now.
At 63.
And the character is part of Eddie. So if Eddie just brings himself as he is now today to that character, yeah, it's going to be great.
Well, I think I mentioned this, and if I did mention it, let me just repeat it. Eddie said in an interview that the director, at one point during one of the action sequences, asked if Eddie could run faster and then jump over some with a little bit more, And Eddie said, I'm 63. Don't ask me to do anything you wouldn't ask Morgan Freeman to do.
And I think that's the right answer. No, it's the right answer.
This is an action movie.
But you're going to see a moment where you see him and you're going to see something that's about to happen. You go, if he does this, this is going to be to the movie. And instead he goes and maybe he does something that's funnier and makes that scene happen.
Hold up, sit my. We want to see that?
Yeah, if it makes it funny, and if there's because now he's more of the Nick Nolte kind of guy, an older cop. No?
I'm just saying,
But you got to go with who you are. You can't play something else. And I
love it when you talk dirty to me. Come get your mad ass in this pool with me. Axel Foley.
That's still there. That can still be there. But it's going to be different now. Those scenes, I don't think that, like what he said, don't ask me to do anything Morgan Freeman, you wouldn't ask Morgan Freeman to do. I think that's fair because his character is 63 years old. And if you try to play him, listen, man, can you watch the Martin and the Will Smith?
You know, it's funny. As I was combing through Instagram today, I saw a couple of clips with Martin and Will promoting Bad Boys, and he said, I'm looking at Martin, and I'm just going, damn. When you look at Bad Boys 1, when Martin was skinny, and you look at him now, I mean, Will Smith has always been in shape and looks the way he looks, but Martin's chunky, man. You know? I don't know, man. I don't know.
I want to see it be, I want to see an authentic older Axel Foley. That's all I'm saying. And I think it's going to be funny. I think he's going to take that guy to a different level. I think he's going to do it.
Oh, well, I'm going to definitely watch it. We're going to watch it.
And the thing is, if he takes this to a different level and it's funny and it's a hit, watch him get back on stage doing stand-up.
You think this will be the thing?
If it's a hit, and if he can bring the Axel Foley, a 63-year-old Axel Foley to stage, let's just call him a 59-year-old Axel Foley, because I'm sure they always make him a little younger in the movie, right? So let's say it's a 59-year-old Axel Foley. He's running, he's jumping, but he,
listen,
within limits.
Eddie has aged well.
Yeah.
He does not look old.
No, so he can do it within
Right.
limits and make it funny and still refer to his age and some. I think it's fair. I think it's a fair look, and I think if he does that and it hits, I think that's the catalyst to get him back on stage.
A couple of people wrote in the comments, why is this not in theaters? Why is it on Netflix? And, when you think about Eddie's cachet and who he's been as a movie star, I'm asking myself the same question. Like, this feels like, and this is a major franchise. Why is it not in theaters?
Well, Netflix doesn't have to do it on theaters. They're streaming. They're trying to get millions upon millions of watches, if not a billion watches. And these charging for it they're charging for it. You're paying your monthly dues, your subscription. So if they can get people to come to their platform, that's more important. Streaming, we're going to have to get out of our heads. Yes, you want to see it on a big screen with all the lights and everything. But how big is your television at your house?
850 inches.
I'm just saying your TV is almost as big as some of the little mini theaters. Like I go to New York and it's a little box that's up there and it holds 50 people in the room.
But when you think of a movie, like would you want to see Bad Boys on Netflix? Explosions, guns, car chases, loud noises. It belongs in a theater.
It does, but with people's theaters now, with their THX and their sound systems and everything, it's streaming is where it's at. People are at home. People aren't going to the movies anymore. We taught people in about a 2.5 year span not to go to the movies. I remember going to them. I like going to the movies still. I like the popcorn at the movies, but I don't like someone sitting next to me. I don't like someone coughing in the theater. And I don't know what happens, but when we sit down on a plane or in a movie theater or anytime, I might not hear someone cough the whole time I'm out on the street right here. But as soon as people sit down for a few minutes, I don't know what the happens to them. There's coughing, there's sneezing, and I just don't want to be around it anymore.
I know for sure a way you can get someone not to sit next to you. Pull your down.
Sit there with your gun.
Sit there with your dick out.
And then if they look at you, just slap it and just laugh.
Oh God. Last piece of news. This one broke my heart. It's breaking my heart. To all the basketball lovers out there and sports fans and enthusiasts, this is the last year for Inside the NBA on TNT. What? Who why is this happening? And I know Ted Turner got the money. So why doesn't he want to do what's necessary to keep that show? And there are so many people, including myself, who say abundantly, there's more people that sometimes watch that show, not for the basketball, for those guys.
Yeah.
Charles, Ernie, Chuck, Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, Charles. That is the greatest quartet in entertainment when it comes to sports.
So they win awards all the time.
to break them up. I don't understand. You know, I heard a clip of Charles Barkley. I forget what he's on one of those interviews. What's the guy's name? I can't think of it now. But
I heard it though.
Dan. Oh yeah, Dan something. He interviews athletes and he said, "Why don't you?" Because Charles said, "I got a production company."
Yeah.
He goes, "So why don't you, Charles, figure out a way to produce it yourself?" And you just keep the group together, keep the band together.
Exactly.
And he said he's trying to look into that.
Yeah, but he has to get everybody to agree to it.
I don't see why they wouldn't.
I don't see why they wouldn't either. And it's not that they're giving up inside the NBA. They just aren't going to have NBA on TNT. They lost their rights. They didn't buy the basketball packages.
Whose job is it to do that? Ted Turner?
No, Ted Turner doesn't have anything to do with it anymore. He's
Really?
Yeah. It's the board, and they decided so that was one of the things Charles Barkley was talking about. They ended up spending money on college football. They never had college football on TNT.
So they would rather have college football?
I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if it got too expensive and they didn't feel that they could afford it, but they bring people to that station to watch basketball and then to watch inside the NBA. But I think as a syndicated show, they're going to make themselves a lot more money if they do it that way.
Yeah.
Because people will pick it up, and then it's going to be a mainstream show because it'll be on all the channels that want to pick it up and buy it. And I think that's great. I think that's great for them. I think that's a bigger audience. So, but it's if they can stick together, figure out a way to make the money work, and everybody get on board on it. Because you know what I love about Barkley, and I didn't love this about. I didn't realize this about him. I mean, I guess I did, but I didn't think about it until this. When he was on the show, and they're talking about it, he was like, "There's people with families. Everybody's worked on the show who's worked on it how many years now?"
A gazillion.
He said they've all worked on it, and they have families. They bought homes. They're having kids. He was talking about the people who produced the show, not even because those guys are going to be okay if they gotten paid. They've made money, but he's talking about the family of the show and all the people that are part of that family by relationship to being a family member to someone who works on the show.
Yeah.
And his heart went out to those people about it. And I was like, this is I look past Barkley as the human sometimes because he's such a big character. But the human in him is an excellent person. And when he said that, I was like, he's right. I mean, they just up everybody's life.
Right.
And but I hope that people will listen, and I hope that they'll come up with a way to put it together. But this is the other problem with this business, and it's a business. It's not about Ernie and Shaq and Kenny all agreeing to do this with Barkley. It's about Ernie's agent, Kenny's agent, Shaq's agent.
Well, we know that agents can sometimes get in the way, but if those four are truly what they are on and off camera, if they are just as much off camera what they seem to be on camera, they ain't even work. They're agents. They're not going to let agents do that because the way those guys operate, and you know for TV sometimes you go, they say they're friends, but we don't get the sense that they go out and eat when the director yells cut. Charles and Shaq are actual friends. And I'm sure Kenny is friends with them too. And Ernie, they're friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the chemistry and the camaraderie oozes on that TV screen.
But when you friends and money don't always mix.
But you just said it. They all got money.
Yeah.
So if they all got money, they're all comfortable, and they're all legit friends, the agents ain't gonna mean.
But now it's Charles' production company. So it's about this is where it just business becomes a problem sometimes. I'd be excited to see this happen. I'd be very, very happy for those guys, and if they're for real, if they're really for real the way that they sound like, they would make this a big company and put it together so that those people that they're talking about that Charles is talking about are also getting paid.
Yeah.
Being like a partner in this and put together a big deal and send it out. I think it would be amazing. I hope that they do it because, like you said, there's people, like who will go on to YouTube and watch old episodes.
Yeah.
Or the cut-ups from the episode. So, yeah, I hope it works out.
All right. Now for the meat and potatoes. STAX, Soulsville, USA. And I remember, and what's funny is when we were doing the pod last week, and I think I mentioned this, from our own homes, I saw the preview of it on HBO, and while you were talking, of course, I had the sound down, off, but I was looking, and I was like, oh, And then they said STAX. And I remember Andy was like, yo, when we go to Memphis, I want to go to STAX Museum, which we never did. But now I really want to go. So I was like, yo, this is going to be a great watch. And it is. Episode 1, it was funny, like, because when you read the preview of what this is, it talks about, yes, it's a blending of the music industry and what this company meant and what its place in music and history. And it also said about also having to deal with the racism of the time. And I was like, dude, I was thinking before this thing started, how long before the racism parts kick in? It wasn't but a hot 10 seconds. They talked about I wish I could get it right, but something about a campus. They started out talking about a college, and you just hear a white girl, she does a voiceover, and she goes, there's some here in this school, and we're starting to get more and more, and pretty soon we'll be overrun with, and this is just being all school. I said, God damn.
Yeah, that was
hot off the plate.
That was like in the first minute. That was in the first minute.
Jesus.
I love the white kid who said, yeah, sometimes, I don't know. I think he said black. He might have said black dude. He might have said, not dude, but he might have said black guy. But he might have said, or he might have used the N word. I don't remember what he said. But he goes, like, it is in the classroom, and he sits next to me. Like, I don't say anything.
Right.
I just get up and move to another seat.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, but what? I'm jumping ahead, but I want to. But
Yeah.
it won't take us out of what we're talking about. The fact that black people and white people weren't even allowed to really be on the street in Memphis at the same time, like hanging out. You got it. When we talk about this, to keep it in context, you got to look at the laws of the city. Now, the people create the laws, so it's not. I'm not taking it away from the people. I'm trying to take it away from the youth of the people who were. I don't want to say victim, but they were. That's what they grew up in. That's what they knew, and it's very obvious when the way they're saying it. This is what they know, and that. Later we'll get into it, but when there's some black dudes and some white dudes out on the street, and the cop, I don't want to give it all away, but the cop, the cop goes by and goes, get inside. You guys can't be out here while all these white people are walking around, and and then they try to explain, but they really couldn't explain because the idea that white and black people were working together in the same studio, in the same business, was also, I guess, illegal, or could have been a problem. It wasn't that it was illegal, but it wasn't. It wasn't something that happened, and that would have been a problem. So this is it's very. This is what is important, and we've talked about this on the podcast a little bit. Is to realize, and this is what white people don't realize when they say, oh, this was so long ago. No, man. This is this is all the way in the 70s still. This comes all the way through. But this part is 66 is the mid 60s. It's in our lifetime, people.
Yeah. Rufus Thomas, who was one of the early artists over at Stax Records. And this is what's so great about music and its history, is that you just learn things that you didn't know. Of course, Elvis Presley, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. And that was really done by a black woman. I forget her name. Big Mama Thornton.
Yeah.
Big Mama Thornton. But this guy, Rufus, sang a song where he goes, you ain't nothing but a bear cat scratching at my door. And I'm like, that sounds.
There was no rules in the music business. That the music people own the, not the artists.
But I'm just saying so because it's got the same.
It's the same song.
It's the same song, and I'm like, okay, so who did what first? Did Big Mama Thornton do that, or did Rufus Thomas do that, and she then took it from him, and you know what I'm saying?
All the writers are the ones who did it, and then the artists get it. Very few of the artists were writing and playing. I mean, that's why everybody. That's what gave control to the industry, because they had the music, and even if someone did come up with it, they would end up owning it anyway. So who knows who owns it? Because we don't even know the names are correct because who owns it got put on there.
Wow. And I thought to myself, but then they kind of answered this question later in the episodes, and I just thought, why isn't Stax talked about or is known as Motown? And then, of course, but later they said that white radio wouldn't play them because they didn't have a crossover sound a la white, sophisticated like Motown. But Stax stood its ground on what it was, and I love that.
Well, because it was the corporate heads that were the ones that didn't like. It had a grittier sound. It had
Right.
a grittier is another way of saying dirtier.
More black.
No, I'm gonna say what I was gonna when I said dirtier, I was thinking more like sexier. Like it has a little bit more like a little oomph to it, like a little,
Right.
And that's what I think the fear was. And yeah, that is part of that. It is in black culture, in music to have that more. Look at the difference between the same song, but if you see old movies of black people dancing, it has a little bit, they're closer, they're more sexual, the movements are different, and white people are like, so yeah, that's the difference culturally.
Yeah, but when I look at what Motown was and their artists, and I'm looking at Stax, I don't know that I'm making a separation between Motown and Stax in terms of that. I really was wondering, why does Motown seem to be the sexier label that people are drawn to, white people, because I think black people were as equally drawn to either one of them. Well, I don't think they picked one over the other.
Corporate America was.
Yeah, so why is corporate America? Because I'm looking at, whether it's Marvin Gaye,
Dirtier,
Supremes.
grittier, black. Dirtier, grittier, and black. That's it. It is. They say we're the grittier.
I don't
we're the,
see that
we
distinction.
They said we had the grittier sound. We had the gritty sound. That's what they said. That's what one of the guys said. We were grittier out of the between.
Okay. I don't see that.
Motown was Diana Ross in the dress with their with
okay.
the backup singers, and they're doing harmony.
Yeah.
I mean, if we talk about
You
this a little bit.
You don't think Otis Redding could have been just as Motown?
Yeah, he could have been. Otis Redding could have been at Motown. He would have crossed over to easily gone over to Motown.
Right.
But some of the other artists was. And here's the other thing. When we talk about harmonies and the way they play the music, listen to where the actual rock guitar comes from. That's coming from that sound. That sound has the guitar, the grittier sounding guitar. Motown doesn't have a guitar that grinds a little bit like that.
Well, if you put it that way, I mean, when you look at, what was it, Booker T and the MGs?
Yeah. And the horn section,
Right.
Horn, and I don't know why, but why horn music is considered sexier, because it has that sound to it, it just has something else that goes with it.
I guess I can kind of see because I'm thinking, again, that's why I asked, could Otis Redding be on Motown? And I could see him on Motown with his sound and who he was. Now, could I see James Brown at Motown? No. You want to talk about gritty and horns and some gristle on the steak? That's James Brown.
I'm going to be real honest, too, about it. Sweaty black dudes on stage don't go over to old white people at that time. I'm being real honest about it. You look at James Brown. That is not who your dad wants you to go watch.
Dude, I saw a funny picture on Instagram. Somebody had a picture of James Brown looking kind of toasty and reddish and sweaty. And they said, if your spare ribs don't look like this, I don't want them. And they had a picture underneath of some ribs on a grill. And I swear it looked like James Brown's face.
Okay, so we made the distinction between the two now.
Right. Okay.
It's getting hot as fuck in here, by the way.
I'm not hot at all.
Okay.
Big shout out to my man. I can't even remember his name now. I don't know if you noticed. See me?
Yeah, he cut you up.
Cut me up a little bit. Yeah.
Did you go to him or did he come to you?
No, he came to me. He was like, "Yo, come to the barbershop. It's 20 minutes away." I called that nigga and said, "Hey, man, I'm on my ass. Can you come to me?" He was like, "I got you." And then when he finished cutting me, I said, "What do I owe you?" He said, "Nothing. Just give me an autograph. Sign my hat." He said, "You my first celebrity cut."
Really?
So yeah, he cut me up for free.
You should get an old. I know you have an old publicity shot.
Publicity shot?
Like a photo shot. Oh, the ones that you send to the club, but you have them on digital. You should print one up, sign it, and send it to him so he can hang it in his barbershop.
Yeah, he said he's opening up his own shop. I like his name. I like the name he gave it. His name is Jack, and he's going to call it Jack of All Fades.
Jack of all fades. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a shop in London called Jack the Clipper.
Oh, that's good too. That's nice. Yeah. I love when Carla Thomas said, "Just because you're chosen doesn't mean everything's going to go perfect." And this was in context to she was saying that she felt like the gift that God has given her, and she was chosen to do what she's doing as an artist. But of course, of the turbulent '60s and the times and all the she had to endure racially, it brought me back to that Bob Marley, when we saw the Bob Marley movie, in regards to being the messenger, to be the vessel for the people, or Dr. King. Like, death is part of the journey. You know, you would think that if somebody was chosen based on this God-given ability that he blessed you with, why wouldn't shit be rosy for you? But maybe that was part of her journey and so many people's journey because of that time in dealing with what they were dealing with.
Well, I can't speak to that necessarily, but what I can say is what her quote was just because you're chosen doesn't mean, how'd she say it?
Just because you're chosen doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect.
It's not supposed to be perfect because
for some people it is.
But and it doesn't work out. I don't believe it works out in the end. It has to build you. You have to be built. We don't come as a ready-made piece. Yeah, you might have the talent, but you have to be put through things to be built. A diamond is put through pressure to become, it's a piece of coal, and the pressure is what makes it the diamond. That's who we are. It's the pressure. It's the things that we evolve from, how we handle situations that puts us in those places. When we're forming, we don't have the ability around us, the structure to become the greatness that we want to eventually become. It's the things that happen to us and how we handle the adversity, how we handle the challenging things that make us.
Glass half empty, half full ideology. Okay. Pressure makes diamonds, right? It also busts pipes.
Yeah.
So for some people, it makes diamonds, but for others, it breaks pipes.
And some pipes will survive, and some pipes will break, and some of the pipes weren't made to stay into whatever atmosphere they were put in, whether it's underground, whether it's above ground, whether it's the pressure inside the pipe. A good pipe is going to stay together. The chosen pipe stays together. I hate to say it that way, but
But then that goes against what she just said. If she's chosen, doesn't mean everything's going to work out.
No, but there's other parts to that. You know, you might be put in the wrong place. Some things you may have to be changed. You may have to some things have to happen to make it work out. We all become I hate to use an athlete because I'm only using. I'll use a business analogy. Some people get fired from one company so that they can become successful in another company.
Right.
The pressure of getting fired and having the pressure of not having a job, maybe your family, maybe lose your insurance, but it's how you stay together. It's how you regroup, and what makes you go to that next level. Right. And sometimes we're not in the right place. Sometimes we were chosen to do something else, and we think we're talented, so we can do this other thing. But sometimes, however you want to believe in it, might move you, right, so that you can get into the place where you can be the success that you need to be.
Right. Dude, Booker T and the MGs, and you know, again, what this taught me was to put a name with the song. Like, I always knew the song, but I didn't know the group behind it. Dude, this song right here, man.
Changed my wish list on my records. I knew this one, though.
I always knew this, and I heard it in movies. And I remember this was in one of the X-Men, the X-Men movie, the New Class or whatever, when they was young kids and they played this. Let me tell you something. That is one of the coolest songs ever made. That song, and when you talk about great music and great artists, you always hear the phrase, stand the test of time. You could play that song, and that's why they use it so much in movies and TV. It just fits whatever moment you need it to. Cool, sexy, heroic. It just, it fits. It fits. When I hear that song, especially that doom 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 doom. I just picture a with a leather jacket and a leather hat with some platforms and got that strut. Nigga, like, I mean, he either left some or going to go get some. He got a gun. He about to shoot up a police station. Whatever. It's just a cool. That is a cool track, man.
Before we go any further into this and the tracks and the sound, I want to get to the guy who accidentally started STAX.
Accidentally. Oh, the white dude.
And his sister.
Yes.
Because she's the one who starts STAX Records so that they can have some kind of revenue stream while they're getting the studio together.
Yeah.
But the record store was really the precursor of what STAX would become because she liked all music. The selection when they were talking about going into
But his
STAX,
thing was country.
His was country, but she had all black artists in there,
Right.
and what she had the sound that was happening in Memphis at the time. That's what she was going for. And somebody said that was the first time a white guy came in and he was looking at Ray Charles albums, just laying there like that, and all the things that he was doing, she was doing, and that she was cool, just smoking a cigarette, hanging out with whoever came in. She had no issues with what was happening in there. She was cool. But then he was saying one of the guys who is it Booker T that is the one who goes in to talk to him first, or was
I
it
think so. I think it's-
someone goes in and to go talk to him to say because she told him to go see him because he wanted to put out a record, and he went to see him, and his name's Jim, right? And said, I think it's Jim, and says we want to do music. He goes, well, we're not doing the kind of music you want to do. We're doing country. And he goes, oh. And he goes, but he didn't realize how much talent was just outside of his door. But as soon as he heard them play, because he wasn't against the people. He just had his style of music that he wanted to play. Right. That's the kind of music he played. And when he heard people playing in there, he was like, okay. Like he changed. That's why I said accidentally. This wasn't the sound that he was looking for. The Memphis sound wasn't what he was looking for. He walked into it, or it walked into his room.
Right. Where is this part that I was looking for? You know, I said this, and what was so great is they of course they had this photo that they showed of, right in the the beginning and during the growth, the baby period of STAX, where you saw the black and the white artists outside taking that picture together, and I don't mean to come off corny, but it's like, dude, if we all had the same taste in music, of course some would obviously say, well, that would be boring, but I love the fact that music seems to be the one amazing force that brings people together. Throw race out the window. It's like when Charles Barkley used to say, look, man, if you can play, we want you. If you can play, you can play. Don't care about your color. Don't care about your sexual orientation. If you can play, we with you. And it's like, dude, it's such a beautiful thing when you see this, to see how, whether it was a white dude on guitar, on bass, on drums, black artists singing, black artists playing, the harmony that them dudes came together with during those turbulent times and said, this is not about race. I respect who you are as an artist. You can play. You respect me. Let's make some magic. And again, everybody, if we had the same taste in music, I think it would be boring, but it just would be great that there's something that could bring us together where we're not thinking about skin color. Yeah, we're jamming out to the same.
You say that, but then you have moments where you have, like, let's go back to country, and you have somebody like Charlie Pride. Even though country is rooted in black music, it becomes a white genre. Then you have Charlie Pride, and everybody he's the outlier. He's not the conduit for we're all the same. He's the conduit for, like, oh, there's one black guy who does this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it only works if you are still open to it. Like you said, it has to be that Barkley philosophy where you, like, if you can do it, if you got game, you're in. And I see it in sports more than I even see it in music, honestly. But yes, those moments are there for people that are passionate about certain genres of music and art, and those things happen. But there's so many outliers in this. And even when Beyonce releases this country album,
I'm so
it's
glad you
killing
brought
it.
that up. I was about to say something about her. Go ahead.
And look at how it turned everything around. It's upside down. It didn't go complimentary. It went kind of like, what the fuck's happening here?
Well, what I noticed and what's so crazy is that, you know, her doing country sparked a little outrage. And I'm going, from white folks, and I'm going, how insane is it that y'all are outraged because a black woman is doing something that we started?
Yeah.
It never belonged to y'all, but y'all act like it did.
I think what it is, and I would
St. Texas, come home, down.
being here. I know Richmond. We're in Richmond right now, and I said something to an audience member this weekend,
Right.
and there's something about this, and I know this isn't even deep south. This is just south. This isn't even deep south, Richmond. It's not deep. It still has its roots, but it's not. But I noticed, man, first of all, from what you said, Beyonce comes in, she puts out this album, and here's the kind of the thing, and this is part of the South too. You know, I think that a lot of people in the South, just off the top, see people that from, remember I'm going to go old days, the Yankees, the Northerners, they come in and, they called them carpetbaggers with, well, that was the other way. But, they just saw them as coming over to take over things, not to be part of, or not even to be, they just didn't see them as traditional, and they resented it. And I think that's what some of this is, because they see them coming from New York. She's a hip hop star, and now she's going to take country. But here's the other thing about it. I think that certain white people have this feeling that if it becomes black, that they need to move out of that neighborhood, and they don't know what they're going to do. And honestly, and I'm saying this because I here in the South, and this white woman told me I sucked on stage. And I already had an experience with a couple other white women, and let me rephrase this, old white women from the South. I want to make sure I say that. And I'm not talking about all, now I feel like you, I'm not talking about all old white women from the South, but I noticed that there's a very strong feeling that a lot of these women have where they don't move on the sidewalk. This is my path. I'm an old white woman, and this is my path. You got to get out of the way. Customarily, yeah, you would, but sometimes there's moments where you have to share the same path because maybe there's people or there's things around and they don't give a fuck. And they just have this attitude. And when she said that to me, I kind of went all out and ruined. I wanted to ruin her night, but you made her feel a little bit better. But I still think I ruined her night, so I'm happy with it. But I said, I don't know why old white women from the South think that they can say whatever the that they want. And it seems like there's this attitude that comes with this old whiteness.
Yeah, it's, two words come to mind, irony and audacity. Like when you said this feeling of taking over, again, historically, white people have been the Don Dada of taking over. Well, forcefully.
Because they could.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
I'm saying anybody who can does.
The audacity for anyone to feel like the Yankees or the are going to come take over. Y'all took over everything, and you didn't ask. Hey. Them just have casinos now. So come on, man. White audacity is amazing to me.
But I think that they feel, and I think this is part of it, they feel that when someone comes from out of the genre, that they feel like it's not authentic. And don't forget though, when who's Garth Brooks put out a rock album and he did another character. It was him, but he put out this music, and they said the music was all right. I never heard it.
Yeah.
But no one took him seriously either because they felt that he's a country guy, and that was it wasn't authentic for him to come into rock music. So this has happened before. It's happened the other way around. I think there's a racial component to this that wasn't on the Garth Brooks thing. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there's some of that in the industry because country is a different genre. That it's been very kept close, I guess. Right. Is the only way I can say it. And it appeals to a certain audience. And when someone comes in from outside that audience, I think it makes them nervous. And you watch even, and this is outside of what we're talking about, but the Bush brothers that do that are NASCAR drivers, they weren't welcomed into NASCAR because they were considered not part of that genre.
Are they black, the Bush brothers?
No. They're white dudes, but they're from the north, and they're just not part of that kind of racing team. They race different, and people complained about how they raced, and there was some problem. I think that this Southern culture, this white Southern culture especially, has a rope at the door, and they're very upset when people slide under the rope or get in through another door. They're very upset about it. They seem to be very upset about it. I might be wrong. If someone out there from the South wants to send us some emails to discuss this, but it just seems like the culture's very closed off to outsiders coming in.
Speaking of NASCAR, I know Michael Jordan has a stake in NASCAR. If I see Michael Jordan pick up one more white baby, pick up some babies, Mike. God damn. I've seen so many images of this with white babies in his arm, being playful and shit. Pick up some babies.
Listen, man.
Pick up some babies, Michael. Pick up some babies. Grab them and put them in the air, since your name is Air. God damn it.
Hey, white babies are going to grow up to wear Jordans too.
They again, during the first part of this doc, the first episode, they show where a lot of the artists, if not the whole roster, at one point they go over to Europe to perform. And I mean, London is loving them. And at one point, I forget what the chick's name, Carla, again, her name is Carla. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Carla Thomas. Was it Thomas? Yeah, Carla Thomas. She was the daughter of Rufus. She goes, and we felt like stars, the way they were treated. No racism.
No segregation.
No segregation, loved. And, one would think that if you're a black person at that time and you're catching hell in America, you can't even be on the same sidewalk with white folks. They tell you, you can't eat there. Put that down. Your water fountain. We'll beat you up, the police. All that. You would think, go where you're loved, man. But there's no place like home, even if home is abusive to you. I would think you would want to move to Europe where you don't have to deal with none of that.
This is just I'm giving other aspects of this, and it is the other aspects. And this is kind of what's happening globally right now. People leave their place where they're from to explore better financial situations, better lives, that's people come here, they go to other countries outside of where they're from. And the problem with this, and there's books written about this, about the South as well, is when you leave to go explore a different place that might offer you other opportunities, you leave your people and your culture. And what they need is the best and brightest to stay and improve that culture, to improve the state of that area, to make it better. And what's happening, there's books written about if more black people would have stayed in the South instead of venturing outside of it, there would be more Atlantas. There'd be more cities that were black-run, black-owned businesses. More that would have happened. So when you say that, yeah, you go to where you're loved or where it might be easier, but sometimes you have to stay in what's tough and change it. And I'm saying that from a complete outsider in this idea, because I didn't have to go through anything that anybody's gone through. I'm just saying there are books about it if you want to read what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you mean.
Okay, and so and going to Europe, yes, some artists did go to Europe so they could experience and bring some things back here. And it was worthwhile. Some do need to leave, but if you don't stay and fix your community, it'll never get better. And that's what's happening it's happening in a lot of countries. Other countries are recruiting the best and brightest, and they come to these other countries, whether it be United States, whether it be London, whether it be France, and they leave those places, and now the best and brightest aren't there, so their countries are suffering. And they're not getting better, they're getting worse. So more people have to leave. So it's kind of a catch-22 on how you want to handle your situation and what you want for your culture.
Those are better people than me. And listen, I didn't come from a place or a time where it was like, holy shit, you got to consider, why don't we get out of here? And I guess, listen, ignorance is bliss. If you were born in it, raised in it, to you, there's nothing wrong with it. Like if you were to put me in Mississippi right now, I'd go, I got to get the fuck out of here. Because,
You see it a lot, though.
Yeah,
you know what it is.
Yeah,
but that's why it's necessary to leave a little bit and come back so that you do know, so that you can make changes, so that you can change the culture of what's happening. You can't do it if you don't know. Number one, you just live in it and you accept it. That's a problem. But that's why, like a lot of military people, when they came back home, they wanted to make changes, and they did. But if you just go someplace else that it's easier or nicer for yourself mentally a little bit, I can't put myself in this position. But if you don't come back to make those changes, it stays the same. So there is this idea that you need to come back, you need to make these changes, you need to improve your community.
I know that I would never do it, but I fantasize about it a little bit where I go, man, if Hollywood ain't giving me the love that I know I deserve, what if I moved to Europe and pursued acting there? Of course, that's a step down because that's not the major leagues. The major leagues is America, Hollywood. Going to go Europe and shoot movies out there, even if you became Europe's biggest star, that's not the major leagues.
No,
that's the minor leagues. But I'm going, not only that, but I know me, and I want fried chicken, and ain't no good fried chicken in Europe.
You don't know.
You can't convince me of that. There's some greasy in the backwoods that we know that chicken. We come from the woods. We've Mississippi. That's what we do. I like black women. I like fat asses and thighs. That ain't in Europe. So I too much of what I know and truly love culturally is not overseas. It's home.
Open up your own businesses out there. Create a culture.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money to be made.
I'm not doubting you, but it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I know, but like somebody like
I'd rather go to a village that's already established, pillage, than start my own village.
But it's funny because as you say that, yeah, you're right. It is not the major leagues, and the reason I'm saying this, and not to
Now, can I turn on the air now?
Yeah,
yeah, I'm starting to cook.
I told you not to put it any other country or place down, but Tony Kukoc was making less money to come to the United States to be in this market than he was making when he was in Europe.
Initially.
Yeah, initially.
Yes.
But that's part of the thing that you know.
But he took a step up, though.
Yeah, but
maybe not in money, but in career, which led to...
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You might be making more money. You might be there, but people come here because this is the big leagues. This is the big Hollywood, NBA, NFL. This is where the bigger,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing even hockey. Hockey is, it's North America, but I mean, they play all over the world. But North America, Canada, and the United States, it's still the bigger league.
Yeah.
And people will give up for that. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I have friends that played in Europe, and they had a house that was paid for, a chef that was at their house. They were taken care of. They made a lot of money, but they never got the notoriety and the big endorsement deals. And they got great deals from where they were, and they made great money, but... that little piece is missing.
Yeah. Episode 2. This was the one I fell in love with. Otis Redding. And listen, I obviously knew who Otis Redding was. The one song I got, I've been loving you for so long. But I want to get more Otis Redding.
Oh yeah,
this dude was a animal.
The soulfulness, the passion in his voice, and they talked about that.
Right.
But you felt it. You felt it through the record.
Dude, when they showed him at the Monterey Pop Festival, and I wrote, it's funny when you talk about how seeing me live. Oh, when you go, Aries, seeing you live is this experience. And it was like when they show him, first of all, the Monterey Pop Festival is like a mini version of Woodstock. Hippies and a lot of love, a lot of smoking weed, a lot of silly white, laying in the park and barefoot and about love and I go, when he sang, kind of how you go with me, it's the performance. It ain't just about the words. It ain't just about the song. It was the performance. When he did that thing and he did the body thing and he told not DJ, but the drummer. And he went, I've been loving, boom, 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 boom. Do that one more time. Boom, 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 boom. He did it like 4 times. About a 4th time, when they cut to the audience, he's got him.
Yeah.
He's got him. And then when he finishes the song, it was almost like when he came out, and I gotta say, I kind of, tell me if I'm wrong, because it's all about love, remember? And with that kind of harmonious love, nobody's thinking about race, but it kind of felt like they were like, what's this gonna do?
Well,
because he ain't part of what we are here to hear based on that kind of music.
it's not just the race, it's also that he looked a little, what's the word? No. What's the word for something that's from the past? A little. I don't know what the word is. There's a word for it, but he's in suits. These guys are like hippie guys.
Right.
They want like the
Flowery.
bell bottom pants, jeans.
Yeah.
And when we were talking gritty earlier, now they're talking really gritty. Really,
Right.
when I say dirty, now I'm not talking about dirty nasty. I'm talking about dirty. Like they didn't look like they showered. Some of these guys.
Yeah.
They came out in suits, pressed.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, when you talk about the Motown thing, that's why especially him, looked like he could cross over. Like he could have been a Motown artist, but he came out and he had to get him with the soul and the voice and the not the look. It's almost like, I don't know if you ever saw the show Mad Men.
No.
But there's this period where all the guys are wearing their hats and their suits, and then the 60s come along. And these guys who were the kings of advertising, they go to parties, and now the girls are all looking at them like all girls wanted them at that time. But
Right.
then just a few years later, they were like this outdated Neanderthal. Because they were in suits, they're with hats, and everybody's like in shorts and little, a different look. And so it almost looked like he came from a different time period to these people.
Right.
And he killed them.
I mean, when he got done, they were eating out of the palm of his hand. And again, I'm just speaking on the showmanship of it. But then, yes, listen to the lyrics. And when you match, when he hit him with that soul and talking about I love you, and he sang it with his gut, and the performance, and I love when they cut to some of the women, and they were all in. And you talk about a festival that's predicated on love and harmony, he couldn't have been more loving and harmonious.
No,
It's like they didn't expect what they got, but when they got it, it was more than they expected.
There's certain people that can sing. Really, Otis and Al Green to me are those.
Love and happiness.
You hear it in their voice, and they're not like screaming or yelling. They're not.
Right.
They're just giving you this, and I think Al Green's was a little prettier sounding.
Right.
But you felt it. You felt
Right.
like this. Like I said, when as a white dude discovering Al Green and knowing that I could f a girl to Al Green. Was like that was the cheat code. You know what I mean? Because you put that on and you have a few drinks and you're making out.
I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so tired of. Yeah.
There's very few people that give you those feelings where you can feel that whatever it is that gets you like that and it twists you and you get it. Like again, we just talked about him. You just said he looked like ribs.
James Brown.
James Brown had it, but he gave you this like, he gave you like everything.
Yeah.
We're talking about two guys. What I'm talking about right now is just it's a softer, soulful sound that just you still feel every bit of it. James Brown, you felt, but he wanted, but it was a different kind of feel. Like it was in front of you, it was in your face. Yeah. This not all James Brown music is like that either. Some of it was like that, but I'm talking about bookends to bookends of everything that you put out.
There's a difference between when the police knock on your door with a warrant and they go turn your house inside out, flip the mattress, go through your drawers, go through your cabinets, up your versus James Brown, who's a SWAT team at 3 a.m. and wakes you up out your sleep by kicking the door.
Yeah. You said
you're still up, but there's a difference though.
That's right. Okay.
This, and you know we have a warrant. Please step back, and they up your. You go, come on though. Versus, boom. And that's a whole different startle.
Yeah. So that's it. But few guys have that kind of soul. I mean, there's others, but I just gave you my two.
And listen, prior to his death, he had the private plane, he had the cars, he had the money, he was successful, he had hits, but his number one hit, and this to me is the cruelty of life, Dock of the Bay.
After
that teared me up.
Yeah, and but because you know why it tears you up is because it's what could have been. That's not only the fact that you lost him, but just the fact for him what he could have, because that was the thing that was missing. He wasn't playing in the NBA. He wasn't in the NFL yet.
Right.
He had the hits. He had the money, but like you said, Kukoc had that thing too. But he wanted to come over for the big, and he was right there.
Right.
But if things don't go wrong, and they don't put out the albums the way that they did, does it still work out that way, or does that get put out later? Because they said that was the hardest thing to work on. They had to have that because
they had to finish it after his death.
And they said that was, those guys were like it was impossible. Like they made us do it. They made because we weren't going to stay open without it.
Right.
But does that happen, or does it release different? Do things turn out differently? It's one of those things where you always wonder what could it be. Like when people are taken way too soon. I don't want to go through all the people that are taken way too soon because there's plenty of them. But I think that's what saddens us most is when they go too soon. You're just wondering what could have been, what could have happened, where would we be today if we still had them. Right. And he's one of those people, man. He had that, and he was only going to ascend. He had a lot more to give.
Yeah. Episode 3. The lady, whoever made the song, I think it was a lady that made it, or whoever made the song. Who's making love to your old lady while you're out making love? I thought about that for a minute. I went, it made me think, stop cheating.
Well, that was the whole point of her song.
No.
It's such a...
I never really thought about that. Like, while you out your woman somebody because it make you want to stop cheating.
It was such it just because of the song, and this is something black music does that white music doesn't do. It isn't honest, especially back then. It wasn't honest. It was like cutesy. Like they didn't. That song is a very honest. Hey, it's
too honest.
Yeah, but it's a serious song. Like, dude, I thought that song was amazing. That it's amazing, and when you really, obviously, when you listen to it, when I was a kid, I remember that song, but I didn't get the song.
Right.
But now I was like, oh,
put your away, dude. And I never really got into Isaac Hayes. As a kid, he just kind of scared me. All that baldness and blackness just scared me. But I gotta say, he's what you appreciate when you get older. And I said, he has to be the godfather of the smooth black 70s soulful sound. Hot Buttered Soul. First of all, if that's not one of the best titles, that is the essence of soulful blackness. Hot Buttered Soul.
Were you into, because I'm not going to put them in the same genre, but the same kind of vibe. Parliament, Funkadelic.
Never was into that.
See, I was always into that shit.
Yeah, that's too weird for me. It was too abstract.
But that's kind of what he was. He was a little abstract, but what really kind of put him more in a different direction is because he did Shaft. And that kind of...
Yeah, I always associate him more with that tone and sound.
But
like
his stage presence, his
the outfits,
the things he wanted to, and they talked about him walking down the streets of Memphis wearing like chartreuse pants and a pink shirt and stuff.
Right.
So he was always that guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's always out there. So
that's like George Clinton.
That's what I'm saying. That's Parliament. That's Funkadelic.
Yeah, that's too.
That's those guys. But they had this expression that was free. And they were going to do and say, and that's where you get sounds like Atomic Dog, and you get that. That's
right.
what this is, man.
Are they the black version of the hippies?
No, but they have funk, they have soul. There's something. Hippies were just free to do, and I don't think there was it was almost like it was unstructured. Where funk has a structure, but it's like a jazz structure, but with. It can go anywhere.
Right.
And that's what these guys were bringing. And I think that Isaac Hayes, the thing that made me uncomfortable is that he always looked really old to me when I was young. And then now that I see him, he looks very young now that I'm old.
That's funny.
So it's, but I knew him from Shaft. My dad, I told you, my stepdad, he loved all of those black exploitation films, and Shaft was like,
oh yeah,
and so I'm playing Shaft. Like we would have days where we could bring records to school and play records. So I'm bringing Shaft to school,
right?
And it's just different, we just had a different.
Let me ask you something, and this I definitely wanted to ask you this as a dude who seems to have an acumen for business. As STAX went from being this mom and pop cool thing in the beginning where everybody's vibing and we all like family and it's all feels personal, but as they begin to ascend and bigger offices, more secretaries, more staff, bigger building or whatever, I don't know, bigger office or whatever.
Yeah.
But as they begin to ascend, essentially they're becoming corporate.
They have to.
And my question was, can you become corporate and still keep that homegrown, down-to-earth energy and vibe? And isn't becoming corporate a good thing? It means growth, more growth, prosperity, and more money, right? But can you be big corporate and still be that mom and pop feel?
Okay, before we go into this, let's get to where this came from. And I want to get to this because now there's another guy who came into the company because they needed a promotions person. They hire what's his name? I don't remember his name. Al comes in.
I have his name. Keep going.
Al has a different relationship. Al's the business guy, but he's the top.
Al Bell.
Al Bell. He's the face now. He's the face of STAX out in the industry. And
just to give it more context, they originally hired him to do publicity.
Yeah.
But he ends up becoming the VP.
Yeah, he becomes a partner because he wants to take this to another level. Now, this is important to note in here because we're going to talk about more stuff, and you already kind of alluded to me the other night, so I want to make sure I get this in. He had his someone in his family worked for the Rockefellers, where he got to know Mr. Rockefeller, and Mr. Rockefeller explained to him business.
God, go ahead.
And so I don't know if I want to get into the business explanation that was explained to him, but
yes, I got it. It's right there.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, all right. So,
because this is in episode 3 or 2.
4. This is 4.
This is 4. Okay.
This is Business 101. Al Bell, when talking with Winthrop Rockefeller, and I had to write this down in this order because I thought this was important for me to know. He goes, Winthrop Rockefeller taught me about wealth, the major financial world's way of thinking. 1, you don't own any of your turf. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to appreciate the ones that own the turf that you're setting out to build something on. 2, after you've got to a certain magnitude, you begin to infringe on somebody else's market share, and that's the major corporations in this country. Once you do that, they realize you're achieving something, and then they want to buy it. If they can't buy it, they copy it. If they can't copy it, they'll destroy you. Number 3, big fish, you have to eat little fish.
Okay. Do you want the same Can I give you the movie that has this whole thing all laid out for you? Scarface.
But what he was doing was illegal.
Doesn't make a difference. It was a business. Never take away the idea that an illegal business is not a business. That's why it's still called an illegal business. It's a business. And that business has to be run even way harder because they don't have the benefit of people protecting them legally.
Right.
So when they talk about you don't own it, you're going to be infringing on someone else's turf, so you have to come into their turf. Watch how Scarface, what's his name in it? Al Pacino, but whatever his name is in it. How he has to move through this business. Because once you get the money, you still have to clean the money so that you can use the money. It's a business. I'm just saying you can use this to look at how business works, because an illegal business is actually easier for you to study and watch how it works, because it's the same in a big business. So let me answer the question the best I could to what you said. Can you become corporate and still move up?
Still stay the same.
Still the same.
Yeah.
I've talked about throughout the whole time that we've done this podcast, people who are trying to come up follow the path of the people that have success. So the answer to this question is no. You cannot do it. You cannot stay the same when you become corporate.
So you lose a little bit of the magic.
You lose some of the secret sauce gets diluted. I'm not saying it gets now. Can it? Yes, it can. But I don't think that anybody on a massive level has figured out how to do that. And what they do, everybody will scoot over and try to do that because they want to keep. You want to keep the sauce as original as possible. But tell me right now, I'll use KFC, which used to be called Kentucky Fried Chicken. And at one point when this guy who was retired, who built Kentucky Fried Chicken, had 11 herbs and spices to make this chicken. And there was that one chicken, his mashed potatoes, his gravy, his coleslaw, and some buns or some biscuits. As he sold it and it grew, that's not the same chicken we're tasting today. We don't get that chicken anymore. So anytime something grows and other people put their hands on it, like they say, too many chefs spoil the soup or whatever, I think that's what it is, you have too many influences and business moves in it. And now the person that was the most important person in your office, who might have just been the secretary who kept everything straight, and you listen to her, and sometimes you might have wanted to make a decision, and you go, I got to talk to myself. What do you think about this? And you might bring your secretary in who had great knowledge, like put you in the right direction sometimes. She is no longer important and not part of the discussion anymore. So the intuition that you might have had and the people that you want to go to, they become irrelevant. So once you become corporate, there's a different structure. And no, it doesn't stay the same. And that's part of the problem with growth. And most people, what they have discovered, and I think what most people have discovered now, when you have a small business, all you want to do is grow it large enough to be bought by the bigger business. Because then you can either partner with them and you can run your business, and that's how you kind of agree with that you run it, or you just get out of it and take your money and go do something else and do it again and sell it again and make your money without having to ruin your structure or what you believe in or how you enjoy it. But you cast off all of those people who brought you up.
Yeah, and then I didn't get how, like you said, the guy who started STAX kind of by accident, between him and his sister was really the captain of the ship behind the scenes. How do you lose a company you started?
Because he was a guy who wasn't a businessman. He did a lot of handshake deals.
And this is important too. Understand the goddamn contracts and read them.
No. Get an attorney.
Yes,
you learn how to read the contract.
Yes.
And then get an attorney who knows how to interpret the contract and how to manipulate those things, because you're going to get over if you don't. And it happens all the time. But he was a handshake deal. There used to be a lot of businesses that were, hey, yeah, we'll shake hands. But if you're dealing here, if me and you were doing a deal, we can do a handshake deal. We can. Me and you really can at this point.
Right.
Me and you still could.
Yeah, because I'm not going to.
No. It's not about it, because our business structure is the same. But if we go to a bigger company and we want to do a business deal with them, their structure is not the same as ours. So if we shake hands, they have a whole people in the background. What's behind the handshake? And then they rewrite the contract behind the handshake, and they you.
But isn't that if we let them do that?
Yes, if you let them. That's why I'm saying we could do a handshake deal. We can't do a handshake deal with the company. You can't do a handshake deal with anybody bigger than you. You could only do a handshake deal with someone who's on the same level as you, and that still probably is not going to work out. If you're on a different level, that other upper level, like he said, the big fish eat the small fish, they're going to take you. Because that's their job, and that's the way the structure of business has always been. And until somebody figures out a better way and makes changes to it, that's the way it's going to be in the society and the capitalist society. That's how it works. Now, I know a lot of people are going to yell, that's why we got to get rid of capitalism. Okay, let's get rid of capitalism. Now the government controls it. So how did you win? At least I have a running shot at being able to get a lawyer and compete. If the government runs it, now I'm only allowed whatever the government says I'm allowed. So get off this other shit about other structures. This has made more people more money, brought more people out of poverty, and has contributed to growth beyond anything else that's ever been. So I will stick with being a capitalist over all this other ideas. Yeah, it's good in theory. It hasn't worked. And that doesn't mean someday it might work, but people have to change before that to work. And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I want to go back to Isaac Hayes for a second. And now this, I told Andy the other day before we talked about this, I said, there is a moment in this, and it's in the last episode towards the end. And from now on, just like I did the whole, hey, if we get a new email, first time writer in, Steve, welcome to the party, pal. Certain things, I give it 5 yo's out of, this is going to be one of my new things here too. Because I find myself being repetitive about this. So let me just try to package this. There are going to be moments when we talk about race, and I always say not all white people, but there are moments where I get so upset about certain things racially that my people have gone through and that we go through, where I am having a, man, all white people, I hate you moment, even though I don't mean all white people. But there's a moment in this, and before I get to that moment, here's a moment leading to that moment. I didn't know this, and again, this is why I love watching this kind of stuff, because you learn. I didn't know that Isaac Hayes was like the first black dude where he won an Oscar for a score, and it was for Shaft. And it said Al Bell, who again at the time was the head of publicity, and now the VP of the company, was talking about how to get Shaft the recognition it deserves to win an Oscar. So he had to appeal to the white folks on the board, where he had to basically bend over times 10. And it took me back to that Steve Martin moment in the doc where I said, like, they had to have Sammy Davis Jr., who was, of course, one of the most influential and mainstream black artists at the time, sing the song somewhere to bring it recognition. It's just the amount of work that we had to do just to get the all-white Oscar board to give it its due. And when Steve Martin, when I said black people have to work 10 times as hard to accomplish the same that white people do, and it just made me go, certain parts of the white establishment are just so goddamn racist. It makes me sick.
Can I jump in on this?
But this isn't the part I was talking about.
But can I jump in on this part right here? Because you said this about the Oscars.
Like, why do we have to fight for every inch?
Okay, because you said 10 times, and I don't know what the times are, and you don't know what the times are, to be honest. We don't know what the times are. I don't know how much more a black person has to put into it, and I'll say more. Let's just say more. I'm just going to go with the word more.
If it's 2 times, it's one too many.
But here's the thing that you're saying. You're saying this as a black man looking at other black men having to go to an all-white Oscar board, and they have to do all these things to get it, and he got it, right? He got the Oscar. There are a lot of white actors who don't play that Oscar game, who they've said would have gotten an Academy Award if they did those things. And so when you say all white Oscar board, I'm going to say there is white stratospheres that have to have their for anyone to accomplish. And you look at it as worse because you look at it as a black racist thing where it is a cultural a phenomenon where this group of people who have power control this whole industry, and no matter who you are, you have to suck their to get it.
I know you're reducing it to you know, they're an elite group who puts everybody through it, but the playing field is structured for white people to win to begin with.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying,
I'm not even saying that what you're saying isn't true. There are some white actors who go, yeah, I'm not dancing that dance. Okay, but even if they don't, the system is set up for them to win anyway, before it is for us.
But a lot of them don't win because they didn't do it. They won't do it.
And for every one of them that don't do it, the face that will win is going to be white 9 times out of 10 over us.
Yeah. I'm not denying what you're saying.
And then I go back to what is the root of why we're being forced to dance this dance? Because of the skin color. Not like the work ain't worthy.
But if you see the dance works, that's part of the business. I'm not saying that you're wrong. What I'm saying is that's been the structure of the business.
Yeah, it's been the structure of the business, but the rules are slightly more difficult when it's our turn.
It's harder to get to do the dance when you're a minority in an all-white group.
And the irony is we're the better dancers.
But it's harder to get there. I'm saying, but everybody who gets there has to do the dance anyway. I'm saying it's harder, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's harder for a minority group to get in front of, to get to do the dance. There's white people who just walk away with it and go, I don't want to do it, and they're comfortable with that. But I think it's even harder if you're white to get to the opportunity to do the dance. Obviously, there's more opportunities. There's always been more opportunities
And just so we're clear, there's always been more opportunities. That's not a coincidence.
No, because there's always been more work. If you couldn't get, if there was not a black movie, how do you get a black artist to be a part of that system? How many black movies were there before the 60s?
And the fact that there weren't in the mainstream.
So there's no way to get to the dance.
Okay, but again, that's not a coincidence.
No. That's the structure.
Okay, the racist structure.
That's the structure.
The racist structure.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want, it's important that you acknowledge that it's a racist structure, not just a structure.
Yeah, it's a racist structure, but you got to look at...
Because when you reduce it to, hey, that's just the system, I'm not saying you're wrong. That is part of the system. But with us, it is a racial system.
Yeah.
It becomes racial.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not denying the racial part of the system. I said for a minority group to get in front of them, it's a different process. It's harder. I'm not denying that. But the structure is you have to go through that. And when you get there, you're not done. You get to get over some more before you get an award. So what I'm saying is the fact that he had to do that to get the award was part of the process. The harder part was getting there in the first place.
Right.
That's my point that I'm trying to make. Because when you get there, you still have to suck the...
Okay. You have to suck the... But I'm trying to think of something funny to say, but it seems like the way we have to suck the... is just a little different. Like y'all might have to suck the on your knees, face up. We got to suck doggy style coming through the back.
The structures of these businesses have been there for a long time. I hate to say this. I'm going to say something really f***ed up, but we're talking about Diddy a lot right now. Diddy didn't get this on his own. Diddy figured this out because that's the structure that he saw in front of him. This has been going on forever. When I say suck the dick, sometimes I mean it metaphorically, and sometimes I mean it real.
Literally.
Literally. No Diddy.
This is really the last part that I have, but this now that we've got this train moving, here we go. You know, at one point they established where as Al is moving up, and really to take STAX to the ultimate level, he signs a deal through Clive Davis. And,
yes.
You know, and Clive has always been a monster. And they signed a deal with CBS. And then because of some controversy that went on, some associated with some dude
with heroin
and mob ties and drugs and whatever, CBS lets Clive Davis go.
Because Clyde's like right-hand man was involved or named in, had an association with the guy.
And Clive basically said to Al, as Al tells the story, man, we gonna lock arms, me and you, and we gonna take STAX into the next threshold together. And, you know, from the way Al tells the story, Clive was on the up and up.
Yeah, because he put out a contract that could have got STAX to that level.
So once they let Clive go, in comes the lawyers, the CBS reps. And they looked at the contract and was like, basically, oh, no.
This doesn't work in our favor.
Yeah, you giving this too much power and too much money, and these artists too much of an opportunity. So they wanted to, they basically said, because Al was going to fight them on this and didn't want to go for what they were offering, they basically stocked the records. They wouldn't put them in the stores. So therefore, the artists weren't getting paid. The company wasn't progressing.
They weren't making any money. They were losing money.
Yeah, they weren't making any money. And let me just, I'm trying to see something. I'll read this real quick.
But I just want to remind you while you're reading this or say to this is when, just before this happens, this is when Al Bell says, why do we have to be a small fish? Why can't we be one of the big fishes?
Right.
Okay, so there's an agenda here going on.
Yeah. Well, as far as Al.
As far as Al's looking at how.
But this is a good agenda.
It's a good agenda if you want to be the big fish.
Why wouldn't you be?
Because you got to look at it again. Just because I'm saying there's levels to this. You're stepping into another territory that you don't own. You're taking away something from a big fish. So there is going to be an issue when you come after a big fish's territory.
But if he's a part of if he's under the CBS umbrella, aren't they the big fish? Aren't they eating?
Yeah, they're part of it, but all of a sudden...
They want all of it.
All of a sudden, they saw that the guy that they had in charge that was running their fish department was giving away too much of what they thought was theirs.
Right.
Because when he's gone, now that deal's no longer going to be... They're going to work to make it invalid.
So cut to, here's what CBS does. They want to offer Al a deal, and they threw around words to make it sound sweet. They said, you will be the most powerful black man in America if you sign this deal, which basically says, and they said, you'll get all the CBS perks. You'll fly the private jet. And then, of course, they showed a couple images of white women. They didn't say it, but the hint was, you can all the white women you want. You could fly on a private jet. We just need you to keep all the other in line. We need you to fly here, fly there. So when these black artists are complaining about not being taken care of, not being properly compensated, it's your job, house, to keep the other in line. And Al turned the deal down. And I wrote, boy, you is something else. Because he basically went, and he even said, so this is like a slave contract. You want me to be a house. You want me to be, you'll call me most powerful. You'll give me that title. I'll fly the private jet. I'll attend all the big parties. I'll rub shoulders with the white elite. I'll f all the white women I can. But I got to screw my fellow black brothers in the process. No, thank you. I'm sorry. And then that's when I went, okay, I know you may want to comment on that, but let me just say that.
Go ahead.
And then if it don't get worse than that, cut to, they're coming to get the masters. They go to STAX to retrieve the masters.
He turned down that deal, so now they're coming.
Now they're coming to get the masters. A la Rockefeller, they will destroy you if they can't copy it or control you. So they come to get the masters. And anybody that knows anything about the music industry, the masters is the bread and butter. That's why for a long time, record companies did not want to give artists their masters. That's where the money is. So if that's not worse enough, the slave contract, you be a house. We coming to get your masters, and here's the part that really pissed me off. This was I hate these. When they come to get the masters, the police are there, and they had he said there was one black marshal, one brother, and he said he pulled me aside and says to me, hey man, be cool. They're here to off you. So in other words, you lose your cool, you put your hands on them, you do anything, give them a reason. They want to kill you. They want to shoot you. And if it wasn't for that black man pulling him aside to warn him, he might be dead. So you offer this insulting contract, sell out your people, be a coon. You come get the masters, so you're really taking STAX's bread and butter. And if that's not enough, you were gonna kill this. White people are some of the most evil on the planet, dude.
Again.
And again, this is I know not all, I'm upset, but when I saw that, and I went, they were gonna kill him. I went, white people are just evil.
The structure of the business was already set up. The structure of business was set up. He was told, and he saw what was happening. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying they followed suit to what he was told. This is not out of the ordinary. This has been forever. And it isn't because he was black. It was because
wait. It wasn't because he was what?
It wasn't just because he was black.
Just because.
No,
Okay.
The business, they couldn't control it. They couldn't own it. So they're going to take it down. Many people have been taken down by corporate structures about that structure well ahead of anybody else. This has happened before. This isn't the first time around. But add racial component to it, and now we up the ante.
And just real quick, I didn't mention this, but there was a moment where even when STAX was ascending, it said at one point, I think during the Isaac Hayes era, where they were making so much money that even in certain banks, the white people didn't want to cash their checks.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like all this black wealth and this black, this ascension and black success. Jesus Christ, man. Like, what Patrice asked on Opie and Anthony, when he goes, I just want to know as a race, what did we do to y'all? Why do you hate us so much? What the did black people do to y'all that you hate us this much? You don't want to see us rise. You're threatened by our success. You're threatened by us getting power, money. Why do you hate us so much?
I can answer the question. It took me a long time to figure this out, and I can answer the question now. You ready? Mm-hmm. Here's what happened. We took, and I'm saying this in a generalization as a white, because the white part of me understands this. This is how I say that the white people feel. We took a huge lead. We accepted that lead. We took it. We took the lead. And we got way ahead. We put ourselves in a place where we're way ahead of every other minority that comes to America. And then we had sub-minorities that came in. You look sort of like us, so we're going to put you in between. We're gonna have this white group, and we're going to put these little minorities that look like white people, and we're going to put them in between the dark, as it gets darker and darker along the line, and we're going to be way up here. And what happened is they had enough of a lead that they thought that they were secure with everything. And as soon as some of the chains got taken off, just some, not all, some of the chains you immediately ran up and got in the race. And they were like, wait, there's no way you could do this because we have 300-year lead on you. What are you doing over here? There's no way you could do this. Why? You cheated us somehow because we put ourselves over here and you want to come up here. Who do you think you are to run all the way up here?
Were you saying bolted you?
That's what you did. That's the only way I can explain this because it's the only way it makes any sense that someone felt that they were put into a place that they should be ahead.
So by the natural progression of life and evolution, we were never supposed to catch up?
Not that fast. Because there's some old white ladies in this city that I saw want people to take their place, and it isn't ahead of them. And that's, I swear to God, this whole thing visualized in a way to me this weekend here in Richmond. What we're talking about now, talking about STAX, talking about this, I see it, and I've always seen it as the corporate structure, the entity doesn't have a color. Yes, it has a color because those are the people that controlled it, and they're never going to give it back. You don't give it back once you have the control. And who had the control for years and years in this country? White. So they have the control. Yeah, some people will come up and they'll get in, and but they'll be part of that group. They're part of that group. They're owning that group. So yeah, it happens. That part stays that way, and it eats everything else below of it. But when you say white people, and this is where it's funny to me, that group is going to be whatever it is. It is whatever it is. I don't know what it is because we don't even know what those people are that control everything anymore. What I'm going to say, though, the people on the ground, have been so indoctrinated into believing what I just laid out about the Head Start and where they felt their position supposed to be, how they put in a buffer zone between what was originally white and what is black. They have a buffer zone. They had a buffer zone in this thing. In this setup, they had that all set up so that it would work for them. But what they did is they convinced, and at the top of this white, this is what's very funny about it, they convinced that all these other poor whites, and this is talked about all the time, that the poor whites are actually better than these black people here, and that it's their responsibility to keep these people down, because if you don't, you're letting them get ahead of you. Why would you let them get ahead of you? You're better than them. They've convinced them that they were, so that they did the work to keep that other elite group of people ahead by us fighting together. And then black people are mad at white people, but these are the real groups that are, the top group is the one that's doing it. So when you say white people, that's why I get into this with you. There's groups of white people that don't want to have anything to do with this. But there's another group of white people that have been convinced that this is the problem and the black people are the problem, and they are keeping this fight going on. And this fight is what keeps those elites that you're talking about, the big fish, eating so well.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong.
No,
I can't be completely wrong. But sitting here, listening to everything, working with you these years, going to the places that I go, reading what I read, knowing what I know, and experiencing what I've experienced, this is the only thing I can come up with.
No, I wouldn't even use the phrase "I come up with," because, the whole, we had a head start in the race, and now y'all catch up. I got it. I understand it.
Hey, if we can keep you guys to...
It's about losing power.
Yeah, if we can keep you guys just to playing football and basketball, we're in a better situation. We'll own the teams.
My question is my wonder has always been, if you flipped it, because power is supposed to be an addictive drug, the idea of power, because you can do anything. If you could flip that and put black people in the position that white people have been in for a 300-year head start.
It's really 400, but I went with three because I don't. It wasn't all America at that time. It was
Gotcha.
other. Okay.
Would we be the same way?
I think.
And the only reason, before you answer, I'm sorry. The only reason why I say that is because one thing that I know about my people and that black people have echoed is we are some of the most loving and forgiving race of people on the planet. When you think about all the atrocities that black people have endured under this umbrella called America, even like, for example, like when Dylan Roof went and shot up the 9 black people in Charlottesville. And when he, I forget what they call it, but he was arrested. He's dealing with the families. The families get a chance to speak to him. So many of them went, I forgive you. I forgive you. And I went, sometimes black people, we're too forgiving. We always forgive. So it brings me back to my question. Because the nature of us is to be forgiving and loving, and we've never really been in positions of power. So maybe I'm speaking on something that I just don't know. But I'm wondering, would we be as thirsty once we have it to treat white people the same way? Or would we go, you know what, there's enough for everybody, break bread? I
don't know. When you say it that way, it brings up a problem in answering that question. And the problem is, I think people who have power never want to relinquish power. We know that black people have done atrocities to black people. There was many wealthy black slave traders that made their money trading their own people in the slave trade to sell off, not their people, other tribes, and sell them off, not caring about what would happen to those people, to make the money that they made so they can control property. And then when they developed white European alliances, they were able to take property and they were able to grow their wealth. So they were partners with those people. So when you have the ability to be in power, money, yeah, I think anyone can do it. But the caveat to that is, I don't know how many. I don't know how many examples we have of black people holding that kind of power over white people that I could say that. To them, to their own selves, to their own people, we can go back and study and say,
Well,
yeah.
it seems like sometimes we go out of our way to be more detrimental to our own people than we would them.
So I can't, that's why I'm saying I can't honestly answer that question. The only thing I can say is when I see power corrupt people and make people do things that will benefit themselves, yeah, I think that it's possible. I think it's possible, and I think it is possible. I think the power breeds this, and the lack of power is the only thing that would have stopped it. But that's not true either, because we've seen incidents where there's a majority black population, and it doesn't seem to try to ruin or to, I don't want to say rub, like to take over and bash or ruin the white community. That wasn't the goal. It's the white community that's still even in the minority that's like yelling out that they're are still trying to hold on to their power. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I can only say that I've never seen power seems to make people go out of control. Power seems to make the best people yield to more power and wanting more power. I don't know. I really, honestly, Arias, I would love to be able to answer that question. I think the right people will always come together and try to do the right things, but there's too many up people.
It's called STAX, Soulsville, USA, 4-part documentary on HBO Max. Check it out. It's an awesome watch. If you're a fan of music, and who isn't? If you're a fan of history, it's a great blend of historical, musical facts. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot with Andy just now. Caveat, what a great word. You confuse me, dude. You're like Rain Man. You know, you a lot of times you're off, but every now and then you spit out some shit where I go, God damn.
Well, we got to go because Wapner's on at 4.
Wapner.
Yeah, that's a line from the Rain Man movie.
Oh, you want to give out some dates? Yeah. Check it out, y'all. It's good. And again,
it's really good.
Next week, Kevin Spacey, Unmasked on HBO Max. 2-part documentary. Check it out. It's delicious.
Listen, guys, in Naples, I know we give you some, but come on out, man. We're going to be there.
We want some of that rich old money.
Yeah, we're going to be in Naples. We got 6 shows. We're going to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's May 30th through June 2nd. We're in Naples. It's going to be some good shows. I've written some stuff just especially for you guys. So come on out. Have a good time. I'm going to make fun of y'all, but come on out. The following week, we are in Pittsburgh. We're going to be there June 7th through the 9th at the Pittsburgh Improv. I didn't say where we are in Naples. I'm sorry, guys. Off the Hook Comedy Club. Awesome restaurant. Great atmosphere. Come on out. Back to Pittsburgh Improv, June 7th through the 9th. We'll be out there. That's Friday through Sunday. Then we're out in Cap City, Austin, Texas, man. June 13th through the 16th, we're going to be at Cap City. On the 12th, I'm going out there. Are you going out there a day early?
Yes.
We're going to go out there. We're going to go check out Joe Rogan's place. We're going to go check out the, what's it called? I forgot what it's called.
His place? I don't know.
I always forgot. Oh, the Mothership Connection. Man,
Booty baby.
my brain doesn't always work, as we know.
But you can say caveat.
Yeah, I got words. On the 22nd, Aries is going to be in Georgia doing a one-nighter on the 22nd.
Georgia
of June, and I'm going to be getting married. So, yeah, I got that going on. June 27th through the 30th, we're going to be at the Helium in Richmond Heights, Missouri. That's the 27th through the 30th. That's Thursday through Sunday.
Where are we? Oh, Helium.
Yeah. Then July, we go all the way to July 5th through 5th and 6th. We're going to be at Omaha Funny Bone. We've only been out, what was that, like over a year ago that we were there. I like that Omaha Funny Bone.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. I like the people. It was a good crowd.
They spend a lot of money, though.
But it was a good crowd. They laugh. They spend their money in laughter.
Spend more, laugh less.
July 11th through the 14th, we're at the Improv in Irvine. We haven't been out there in a little bit, too. Irvine Improv. Again, that's July 11th through the 14th. That's Thursday through Sunday. The next week, we're going to be July 18th to the 21st. We're at Cobb's in San Francisco. That's, again, Thursday through Sunday. I might have Tara come out to that one.
Really?
Yeah. Right. I might have Tara come out because then I'm going to go to probably Phoenix, hang out.
Where y'all going for the honeymoon?
We don't know yet. I got to talk to you about that after this, too. August 8th through the 10th. That's Thursday through Saturday. We're going to be at the Mic Drop in San Diego. Seeing our old friend Casey out there. And then new dates. Thursday, August 22nd through Friday, the 23rd. We're going to be at Stand Up Live back in Phoenix. We're back out in my hometown, Phoenix. Not really my hometown because I moved there when I was older. But my hometown actually is going to be on the 24th, that following Saturday. August 24th, Saturday, we'll be at the Rialto Theater in Tucson, my actual hometown.
I've never been to Tucson, so this will be a first for me.
Tucson, I got jokes for you.
I want to wear the Tucson Suck shirt on stage.
Do
you ever do that? Have you ever done that?
No, I wear it to Tucson all the time, but I'd love to wear it to the airport.
But have you ever worn it on stage?
Not in Tucson.
That'd be ballsy.
I'm gonna wear it when I'm out there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take them for sale out there. Yeah. Listen, I love Tucson, but Tucson sucks with certain things, man, and we know it. If you want to drive, we have a 4-lane thoroughfare. It's called Speedway. It goes right through the hardest of Tucson. It's 4 lanes. Speed limit's 35 miles an hour.
Got you.
Everybody drives 32. Tucson sucks. The driving out there is horrible. So, I there's reasons why I say it, not because I want to just be mean. But Tucson will be out there. I'm really looking forward to being back home and doing comedy in the theater there. That is, it's very exciting. So I'm gonna leave it right there. We're gonna be in Tucson, guys. Come check us out. Guys that know me, I'll be out there. My brother called me last night. He goes, "So you actually in Tucson with Aries?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "They're advertising it already for August."
Really?
Yeah, they're advertising for the Rialto.
And it's at a theater.
Yeah,
right?
it's a theater.
How many seats that hold?
1,000.
Okay.
So it's a nice theater. And we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I thought we might be at the Fox, but we're at the Rialto, which I don't care. They're both great theaters.
Just Fox did Tucson?
Yeah, I think it's bigger though. I think it's even bigger. So
You know what? I didn't even think about it till just now. I'm excited to go back to Arizona because I want to go back to where you took me to eat.
Oh yeah, the Ocean's 44.
Oh man,
It's great, right?
yeah.
Dude, I still haven't found deviled eggs that good with that.
Jesus.
That crispy Parmesan cracker on it with the
Right.
shrimp.
Yes.
Oh man,
Yes.
it's so good. And you had the pasta, man. I love they have that Tucson. I mean Phoenix itself.
Yeah.
Has and Tucson. I'm going to include Tucson in this. Tucson has some of the best, and so does Phoenix, restaurants in the country. I don't care what anybody says. It's a great restaurant place, man. And especially Tucson has all these small mom and pop restaurants, and they're all good. I miss eating Tucson. I'm going to take you some real Mexican food when we get down.
I'm with it. I got a lot of good out of Phoenix.
Well, now you're going to go to Tucson. You can get some of that south of the border.
There it is.
Guys, I think that's the show.
What are we calling this? STAX, right?
Yeah, we got to call it STAX.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys very much. See you in Tucson, guys.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Kleinschmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.